I need some advice. If I ever want to master a mirror dance sequence, what is the art to that? Because that scene, without giving anything away, blew my mind.
You should go and get as close as you can to a mirror and just follow your every move for as long as you can do it until your reflection messes up, and then yell at them and then start over.
Exactly.
If we were to try it though,
that's when you found true mastery. When you have outsmarted your reflection.
some different Magic Mike going on.
Exactly. And that's really the underlying story of Magic Mike.
That's how I came up with it. I outsmarted. It's like Peter Pan. I outsmarted my shadow. I beat my shadow in a battle.
I love the line that Jada Pinkett Smith has about, in this game, it's evolve or die. You have to change. You guys are going through this idea of we need to change our routines. We need different routines. We can't do the same thing again. What is the idea of that in Hollywood in the sense of do you specifically look at your roles like that? I want to evolve, I want to do, obviously Foxcatcher was so different from anything you've done before, it was brilliant. So I'm wondering how, do you look at things like that and evolving?
I guess, you always want to grow and evolve, but that's not really the intention for me, I don't believe. I don't know if I look at it like that. I just kind of assume that hopefully will happen, just by experience. I just really want to do stories that I'm into and that's generally, if you've done one, you want to find something new. That's as simple as it is for me.
And for you, because obviously you're very big into dance, obviously, but talk about evolving that element of your career as well.
Of course, but it's nothing outside of the natural instinct to do that. Just because things change and life goes on, then it's going really deep. But you just can't be too rigid about anything. It's the same thing about making this sequel. You could look at different elements that the first movie had, and if you were too rigid, you'd be like, we can't make it. There's certain people are not coming back, we can't make it. Or this didn't go right, now we can't make it. And you bend, you evolve.
Yeah. You know what I find fascinating about acting is that no matter what the type of role, this is more like a fun role, but there's also a lot of deep emotions too as well. You look at something like Foxcatcher, which was extremely, I'm sure, emotionally draining at times. When you leave a movie like this versus a movie like Foxcatcher, is the downtime the same, or is it a completely different emotional realm?
Oh man, yeah, no, it is. They're just different. They're just different animals completely. I don't even know how to describe the differences really. Foxcatcher, we didn't laugh one time on set, and that's all we did on this movie. So
right. You've done so many interesting movies in your career, a lot of R-rated movies as well. Are there ones you're very nervous about later on of her seeing? Obviously she's only 1 or 2 years old, but are you concerned about her finding these movies later on in your career?
Not yet. I'm sure at some point that might change. But look, she's gonna be a human, and she's gonna, especially by the time she grows up, God knows what the world's gonna be like, and I don't know. I hopefully I raise her to be able to understand, anything, much less hopefully be able to understand, what we're doing in this business. This is all made up stuff, and I'm never gonna be able to change the fact that I actually was a stripper in my life. I'm not gonna hide that from her. Hopefully she'll just be able to understand it.
That's awesome, guys. Always a pleasure. That mirror scene, freaking awesome.
Thanks,
congratulations to you guys. Always good to see you, by the way.
You too, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Always great to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I had to ask you specifically, when looking at a script, for example, your scene in the mini mart, what does it say there for you? What do you does it have specific? Are you gonna hump the water? Does it tell you that?
No, it just says mini mart, girl smiles. Pretty much.
Really?
Walks into mini mart, and girl smiles at end, performs. So you don't see it on the page. And that was kind of the trick about the first movie, was that those scenes have such an inherent sense of humor that no one who read the script first got any of that. So it read like this dark expose, and it wasn't until we started rehearsing and saw the choreography of Allison Falk and Teresa Espinoza that we realized, oh my God, this is so funny. And so, I didn't know what they had planned until I got there the first day of choreography. And the question then was, well, what should the music be? And I had just come from a Backstreet Boy documentary that this director that I'm working with on another project with my producing company had made. And I just came from the screening, and I was singing I Want It That Way the whole drive. And I think that this big guy in his truck singing I Want It That Way was kind of the perfect, just the perfect foil or the perfect theme song for this scene.
When you guys are in a movie like this, obviously audiences love the dance sequences. I'm wondering how it affects you in your personal life in the sense of like if Sophia sees you like that scene, and she's like, "That's awesome. I want you to do that for me." Like dance. Like do you guys have like girls that say, "I want you guys to do these dance moves in front of me as well"?
I don't think they really have to ask. I think it's just put upon them, and I don't think they're unhappy about it. I know my girl wasn't unhappy about having to, be danced upon.
And I think furthermore, to take it a step further, I mean, it was more like Sophia was like running away, like clawing at the floor, the door, wedges, and I'm, come on, and I'm, doing my routine. So she was running and hiding and closing doors.
When you were practicing your routine?
Oh, to get away from me, yeah.
Did you do that in the house? Did you practice that mini mart in your house?
Yeah. Well, not with, I'm not going to throw Cheetos all over the floor or anything, but yeah, I mean, of course, you come home from work and you show her what you did at work. We're not undercover narcotics officers not talking about our job to our wives and significant others. Guess what I learned at work?
Easy, Serpico.
When you're in a scene and you have your shirt off or whatever, and you have to kind of look like you're ripped and buff, whatever, do you work out before the camera turns on?
You work your ass off for months.
Months, right.
Prior to. I mean, it's not like you do.
Oh, I know.
There's not enough time before you roll to tighten up, enough that, if you got time, you probably get a pump, maybe do it just more so just to get the blood flowing so that you can, you're going to do this dance routine. It's like warming up before you go, but
there was
you got to show up on day one ready.
The first time that we did the film, the first one, there were like dumbbells and stuff laying. There was nothing.
Huh?
Yeah, we brought our own stuff.
There was really nothing. Like especially if you're going to do a scene that's 8 hours long.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There's just no way if you get a pump the first time. I remember that there was a scene in the first one where McConaughey was teaching the kid how to roll in front of the mirror, and Joe and I start the scene by doing curls in the background, and like 8 hours later, Joe and I have done like 17,000 curls. Just like we immediately looked at each other the next day when it was like, okay, we won't do that again.
I mentioned to you before that I have seen you live on stage, and in the sense of like getting into music. Obviously, strippers have to deal with that because they have to move their bodies. But you dealt with that in the sense of like headbanging and rocking out. Can you talk about that, like in finding a rhythm and like moving with the crowd and getting everyone going?
Yeah, I mean that's what I was saying. They were like, how did you figure out how to perform in front of those people? And I was like, well, when you're on stage doing music, and especially metalheads.
Ozfest.
You gotta move them. You know what I mean? They're there to feel it, to be moved. And so you have to really learn energetically how to connect to what's happening in the crowd and be in the mix of that and kind of push it. Yeah. So it's all the same, and there's nothing more difficult than the metalheads.
I know. Trust me, they're a rough crowd. I'm one of them.
So I'm like, if we can survive there, we can survive anywhere.
I have to ask you, because your character commands such a confident presence on camera. Like when she walks in the room, essentially everyone's kind of like bowing down to her because she's awesome.
Right.
So I want to ask you about that because obviously you leave a character. Do you miss people that you play? Like for example, do you miss Fish Mooney? Do you miss this character? Do you miss people that you've played in the past? Like do you miss being them after you leave?
I do, and it's funny. I think Fish, I'll miss a great deal, and I'll miss Rome. But the thing about Rome is I can still slip her in a little bit.
in your real life.
My real life, little, here and there, possibly. But
hey,
Fish,
Will, it's Rome time.
Exactly, But Fish is more difficult to camouflage.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But you're right. I do miss characters.
Yeah. Two things I want to ask you before I go is that obviously I was in the press conferences now, and two things came out which I thought was fascinating. One, your character was originally written for a man.
Yes.
And I remember Angelina Jolie dealt with that with Salt, where her character was written for a man as well. So was the script that you saw, was it specifically a man character that you then changed more female?
Yes, it was written for. It was all And so when Channing was like, and I want you to play the male role of Rome. The only thing we kept was the name Rome.
Oh.
We kept the name.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay. And so they really gave me a lot of leeway to figure out who this woman is.
And then, and obviously one thing you mentioned in the press conference was the Matt Bomer lap dance. Now, what I want to ask is, how did that go down? You had no idea it was a joke. It was supposed to be like a joke.
Well, I thought it. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
I think the choreographer set me up only because they placed me in the seat that the woman in the movie that he's actually that he goes up to and dances with sits in. So that I was like, I want to watch Matt, where, you know, and they were like, oh yeah, sit right here. And I was like, oh good, this is like front row, this is nice, you know. And then Matt comes out and he starts doing his thing, and then he comes over to me, and I was like, oh, are you okay?
Were you Jada or Rome in that moment?
Oh, I was all Jada.
There
That was all Jada. I mean, we were in rehearsal. It was downtime. I had my jeans on, my hat, you know. It was all Jada. And so we had a good time. I enjoyed it so much.
Well, I want to see that video on the DVD features. They need to have.
I
Hopefully
know,
they'll put it.
I don't know if they taped it. They might have. We'll
Hopefully
see.
they did.
Yeah.
It's always good to see you, by the way. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I love like the lines you have in the movie, kind of like about your headshots, how you kind of want to find the casting agency. And I'm wondering if you two could take me back to like when you first broke into the business and like the headshots you had to take and like the casting agency. Anything like funny about those moments in the sense of like getting headshots? How awkward was that, or you know, sending them in?
I'm gonna have to go back to my audition for Mickey Mouse Club. And I didn't have a headshot, and I was just kind of rolling with the punches. And I went with a friend and just got in line to do it. I was just telling this story earlier, but this girl in front of me sang "Eternal Flame" by the Bangles as her audition song, and then so I just sang the same song she did.
And that was not planned?
I actually ended up getting pretty close to being on the show, and it was the same time like JT and Britney Spears and all those people.
Is that the Ryan Gosling era?
Yeah, Gosling era.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah, so I didn't even have a headshot, man. I was just like, I'm here.
And for you, anything crazy?
Other than just like, you know, I'm in Atlanta, like I don't know, I was nowhere near any sort of like shows or anything or how to do it. So like I was like, how do I get headshots? I'll go to Olin Mills.
Yes.
And
Glamour
get one of those,
shots.
Like, glamour shots. And then like I'll hand type it with like this is like I had to hand type my name underneath.
Do you still have
with
these?
a typewriter.
I would pay.
My mom
Good
probably
money.
has them
Tweet
like
these
this,
out.
So like, oh my god, like
that would
these
be
are-
a throwback Thursday.
If I find them, I'll be like, wow, you're already in the fire. Like,
Yes.
yes.
That's awesome. Dude, I'm a big fan of your music, by the way. Childish Gambino. I love the albums you have. They're phenomenal. And I want to ask you about the emotionally connected, kind of a serious question, emotionally connecting to a character versus emotionally connecting to a song that you write. Because I know it's a similar kind of journey emotionally, I'm assuming, but can you talk about the difference between those two?
I mean, like they're both, you know, like I write like through experiences that I've had, like just like I'm sure like Matt, you know, acts through experiences. He has like when you're saying like I love when you say like, oh, like this scares me. Why does that scare me? Is that interesting? I'm gonna do it. Like that's always kind of what happens with me, where I'm just like, this is kind of a weird feeling I'm having. I'll write it through something, whether that's television or music or like a job like this, like where it's like, oh, I want to explore that. So like they're all, I know that it's sometimes it can be seen as confusing, but they're all kind of the same to me because it's just following that feeling and like expressing it, because like, you know, I don't want it to always be. Life isn't about you. Like it's not about you at all. Like it's about the experience that like kind of draws us together as people. So like, yeah, they're all kind of the same, just like expressing that experience as a human.
Like, can you speak about a specific healing moment you think you've had on people that have seen your work? Like, this changed my life when I saw you do this. Like, if you had someone come up to you and tell you that?
Yeah, but and sometimes it's in places you don't think. I mean, it's always easy to kind of get up on your high horse and try to be a part of stories that you hope will affect people. But sometimes it's just a one-off guest spot you did on something that brought somebody joy when they were sick or getting over cancer or something, and they saw it in their hospital room. And so sometimes it's kind of out of the blue that way. But I think, you know, that to me is what resonated the most with our characters in the film, and why the relationship between our characters was so important, was that they do connect that way. They are sort of responsible for the romanticism of what stripping can do to help people escape.
Yeah.
Dude, last question before I wrap you up. I always want to know this. When you guys have like a shirtless scene in a movie, I always want to know this. Do you have to like work out before the camera starts rolling? Do you like kind of like do a couple reps to get I don't know, buffed up for? Or is it all just everything?
No,
you've
I
already...
mean, I think at that point we were like already a couple months in, and so it's like you got what you got.
You're
man.
already
like hope for the best. I wouldn't even look in a mirror, to be honest with you, the whole time we were training. I mean, when we were dancing and stuff, oftentimes we were in studios where there were mirrors there, but I didn't even want to see myself because I know I'm rife with insecurities, and like I would just see every flaw in the mirror. So I was like, I'm just gonna avoid it, and whatever's gonna be is gonna be. So.